me a screen sharing, sir.
A very good afternoon to all. Now we are in second session of AICT sponsored FDP on Nutrigenomics Unveiled Frontier in Healthcare. Now I would like to request Ms. Asha Jadhav ma'am to introduce our speaker of second session. Over to you ma'am.
Thank you, Anga. It's a great pleasure to introduce such a great personality, Dr. K.S. Ladda sir, who is working as a professor in Pharmacognosy and Phytochemistry Department of Pharmaceutical Science and Technology, Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai. Sir has having vast year of experience in the academics as well as in the research. Sir has received about 24 sponsored projects in which 10 projects were funded by the government agencies like DAE, AICTE, UGC, ICAR, AYUSH, ICMR and RGSTC. Along with this, Sir is providing consultancies to the various companies like SL Herbals, Pristine Apiculture, Sarat Pharma, Tata International, and Pitambari, etc. Sir has given excellent contribution in the research. Sir is having approximate 200 publications in their account. Also, Sir has published 16 patents in which one patent was granted by the US. Sir has published approximate 60 monographs which were published in quality standards and Indian medicinal plants. With this brief introduction, I welcome to the sir and I would like to request you, sir, to start with your session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. And please give me a screen share.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There is some problem, I don't know. Browse my computer when I am giving it, actually it is not
सर मैंने प्रेजेंटर किया है आपको ऑलरेडी.
pardon?
हाँ प्रेजेंटर किया है आपको.
Yeah, but when I'm see, it is showing me when I share content.
Okay.
Presenter mode, add by presenter mode, content only. Turn on your camera. What do I need to do? Tell me, because I'm not very comfortable with the.
Okay. You just click on that, sir. Below that, see there are two screens. Okay. So left hand side screen already you open that PPTs.
I have already opened my PPT, sir.
तो सर देख लेना, आपको साइड में पीपीटी दिखता रहेगा, या तो फिर इसमें एक तो 2 साइड है, आपको वहां पे क्लिक करना है, डायरेक्टली आप वहां पे प्रेजेंट कर
No,
सकते।
I am unable to see actually.
ओके,
You see, I have already opened my PPT.
ओके,
And it is already there on the desktop.
कैन यू सेंड मी सर पीपीटी?
Okay, I will do that. I think that would be easier for me to do that.
ईमेल में सर।
फिरोज मैम, डॉक्टर फिरोज।
हाँ फिरोज तंबोली।
सर आपका
FI अरोज है, जस्ट टाइप।
हाँ बोलिए सर। फिरोज
फिरोज तंबोली, FI अरोज है।
TANBOLI
143
143@gmail.com.
yes, correct.
Okay, sir.
वो सर आता ही प्रेजेंट है इकडे।
sir. Hello?
Sir, got it. Please wait.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, please.
So I'll be troubling you for presentation.
No, sir. No, it's okay. Wait.
Because I have tried actually, I don't know, there's some problem. Oh, I got, sir. Wait a minute.
Okay.
I don't know. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Not visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And just confirm once more, am I audible? And slide is changing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. I'm sorry for the little goof which has happened from my side. Please discount for my age. I thank you, all of you actually, and welcome to this particular session. And I'll be speaking about the semi-synthetic and the synthetic analogs of the phytochemicals which are used in the healthcare. Along with that, I will also be exposing you to the other sector wherein these phytochemicals are also used. All right, so I'll begin without wasting much of the time. I will not much explain because you're all faculty, so you are aware of the primary metabolite and the secondary metabolite. Why I chosen this topic, I will just tell you in brief, because right from the beginning I was very much interested in the phytochemicals, and the area which has particularly attracted me was biosynthesis. And when I looked into the biosynthesis, then I started looking into the various derivatives and the synthetic analogs, and I found it very simple way to remember and to get into that, which otherwise normally as an phytochemical one will find it very difficult because the structures are very complicated. However, I was very comfortable with the structures, and once you know biosynthesis, it becomes all the more clear and easier to draw the structure or to know the structure. You don't have to remember the structure, but no, you can then actually easily write the structure without much difficulty. Anyway, primary metabolite and the secondary metabolite, because the primary metabolite are important because they are important for the plant, for the generation, survival, and multiplication thereafter. And normally they are present in a very large concentration in the plant, like carbohydrate, protein, and the lipid are normally present in a very high concentration. Carbohydrate is present in grains up to more than 40% like starch, or lipid like fixed oil more than 40% once again in the nuts. So primary constituent present in a large concentration, and by and large primary constituent or the primary metabolites do not have much of the therapeutic action associated with them. There are very few, or there are some exceptions. Otherwise, by and large, they are not associated with the therapeutic action. They give caloric value to the humans. On the other hand, secondary metabolites are produced by the breakdown part of the primary metabolite, like phosphoenol pyruvate. Phosphoenol pyruvate actually is being utilized for the formation of a shikimic acid. It goes to the shikimic acid. So phosphoenol pyruvate along with the erythrophosphate 4 phosphate is responsible for the formation of the quinic acid, quinic to shikimic acid, and then of course phenylalanine. So, and then of course from the glycolysis you also get acetate. Acetate goes to the Krebs cycle. Various acids are produced. Those acids goes for the for the formation of the amino acids. Some of the amino acids are utilized for the formation of the alkaloid. So product of the primary metabolism, or more precisely breakdown product of the primary metabolism, are the one which are responsible for the synthesis of secondary metabolite. Okay, like acetate is used for the formation of acetoacetate, and then of course mevalonate. Mevalonate is responsible for the isopentyl pyrophosphate and dimethyl pyrophosphate. And then the entire terpenoid chemistry starts, whether it is monoterpene, sesquiterpene, triterpene, triterpene. So constituent of the secondary metabolite are the one which are produced from the breakdown part of the primary metabolite, and normally constituent of the secondary metabolite are present in a very small concentration, but for the humans and for the animals, they are normally been associated with the therapeutic action, marked therapeutic action. So from phytochemical angle, actually, we normally concentrate on the secondary metabolite. All right. Okay, let me just take you through the forms of botanicals. Of the natural product. We have, I have just put one case study here actually of the aloes. All of you know aloes, actually very common, but you know more aloes actually, or even the layman knows aloes actually, but layman knows aloes more for the cosmetic value rather than therapeutic value. Whereas in pharmacy, we teach more therapeutic value, that yes, aloes is responsible for the purgative action. And what are the different forms in which it is available? Now let's look at it actually. We have aloe vera plant which is there, and the aloe vera leaf have been used actually, fresh leaf have been used actually by the people. They take out the gel and apply to the face actually, and it gives a good effect. Aloe vera powder is been treated actually, dried aloe vera powder has been used. Kumari aso, that is a plant extract, is been used in Ayurveda for the preparation of the aswa. Standardized extract, we have aloe dried juice containing 20% aloe. That is what precisely we teach in pharmacy, that aloes that normally contains around 20% aloe. Then we have enriched aloe extract which contains almost 95% aloe, more precisely barbaloin. Okay, so that is also been treated actually, because this is normally been used actually for the preparation of diacetyl. Then we have phytochemicals like barbaloin and aloe imodine. Aloe imodine is also obtained actually from the barbaloin, because barbaloin has been hydrolyzed, oxidative hydrolysis, and then you get actually the aloe imodine. Aloe imodine is an important precursor for the formation of a diacetyl. Then we have a derivative like aloe imodine is a derivative of the barbaloin. Then rhine is obtained from the aloe imodine by oxidation. So these are the derivatives which are also there in the product actually. They're also been traded. Phytopharmaceuticals, diacetyl. You can see this is a diacetyl structure, that is diacetyl, and this is the rhine. And this has been converted into a tablet form actually, or the capsule form, and it is used as an anti-arthritic drug. So these are the various forms of the botanicals which exist, and this also create a lot of complexity for their analysis. Anyway, so the present topic deals with the phytochemicals. These are the various terms by which the phytochemicals are known, whether they're bioactive compound, plant analyte, or marker, or biomarker, or secondary metabolites. So all of them, they are synonymous actually, because they are the secondary plant constituents, second part of the secondary metabolite, and they are the one which are responsible for giving biological action. When we talk about the phytochemical is a compound reported to be present in the plant material whose identity and the purity has been confirmed. Whether it is quinine from cinchona, or quinine and quinidine from cinchona, or emitin from ipecac, or colchicine from gloriosa or colchicum, or digoxin actually from digitalis lanata. So those are the constituent actually phytochemicals of which identity and the purity has been confirmed. For the analytical purpose, it may be one of the unique or important compounds present in the herb, or it may not be active compound. See, when you look at from the analytical angle, what is the requirement of the analytical angle? That you should be able to identify and quantify. This is the most important requirement, identify and quantify. Suppose if you take, let's say, stigmasterol, the cytosterol as a biomarker, then in that case, most of the plant do contain stigmasterol and the cytosterol. So with that, actually, I don't think you will be able to establish identity of a particular plant. I'll give an example of the azafrane. Azafrane is a carotenoid which is present specifically in a plant called Alectra. So if you notice this, and only few other, so if you notice the presence of azafrane, this is because of the presence of the Alectra parasitica rhizome, which contains azafrane in that. So this is very unique phytochemical which is present in Alectra parasitica, by which you can establish the identity of azafrane, identity of the Alectra parasitica in the raw material or in the product which is made from the Alectra parasitica rhizome. It may or may not be active compound. This is another important, because for the analytical purpose, it has to be a unique compound. Then only you will be able to establish its identity and purity thereafter. But for the biological action, certainly it needs to have a biological action associated with it. Okay, so these are the two different requirements. Phytochemical can be isolated from a plant material, or it can be made synthetically or semi-synthetically. See, I have given an example of the quercetin and the rutin. Rutin is abundantly available in a plant called Phagopyrum, whereas quercetin is normally present in very small concentration wherever they are present. And if you need quercetin, I don't think there is any need to extract and isolate quercetin where it is present in very small concentration. Instead, what one should do, extract rutin actually, which is available in the good quantity concentration, and then convert into a quercetin with a simple chemical reaction, that is acid hydrolysis. So here it can be isolated from a plant material, or it can be made semi-synthetically or even synthetically. So this is today menthol is prepared synthetically. Natural menthol is levorotatory, but today even synthetic chemistry has come out actually with a process by which you can get exclusively L-menthol, that is levomenthol. So in such cases, actually, it is possible to use synthetic material as well, as long as they are conforming to the structural and the conformational identity, or they are meeting the structural and the conformational identity as that of the natural compound found in the plant. Okay, so that was about the phytochemicals. Next is phytochemicals as drug. Before I get into the analog, let me just get you phytochemicals as a drug. There are various phytochemicals which are still used as a drug. I have given some example here. There are many more beyond this as well. Ephedrine is from the ephedra, but today, of course, ephedrine is obtained more by the fermentation rather than by the ephedra. Today, ephedrine is controlled because of the drug abuse, but at one time it was used actually as an anti-asthmatic drug. Soralen, another is a furanocoumarin, which is obtained from Soralia corallifolia, and today it is used actually in ointment and in the cream for vitiligo or the leukoderma to enhance the pigmentation or to stimulate the pigmentation in especially the vitiligo patient. Thiocolchicoside is a semi-synthetic colchicine derivative which is obtained actually from gloriosa, and then it is converted to a thiocolchicoside. Thiocolchicoside is used as an anti-arthritic drug today actually, or for the rheumatism. Morphine obtained from opium, Papaver somniferum latex, and morphine is having the powerful analgesic action, and even today morphine sulfate is used, morphine sulfate injection is used actually to overcome the pain after surgery, which is very powerful pain actually, and with that you need powerful analgesic also. Capsaicin is another compound which is isolated from chilies, that is vanillinamide, and this particular material, capsaicinoid, rather it is already officially in the USP, which is 95% capsaicinoid, and that contains not less than 55% of the capsaicin in that, and that has been used actually once again as an anti-rheumatism drug. Hyoscyamin is obtained actually from the Duboisia leaf, which is growing actually in Australia, and these are the tropane alkaloids which are used actually for the midriatic purpose as well as for the GI tract element. Taxol is obtained. Taxol is a very important anti-cancer drug, a taxane derivative which is obtained from Taxus brevifolia. Currently, of course, Taxus brevifolia is not the source actually, but it is obtained either by the fermentation technology, or it is also obtained by the other root, semi-synthetic root called 10-diab root. 10-deacetyl-baccatin is the one which has been found to be present in the Taxus baccata, and then of course it is converted by the chemical process into a Taxol. Cenoside is another important constituent which is obtained from senna, and that has been used actually as a drug, as a purgative. It is converted into a tablet. So these are some of the plant material which are used as a drug. Here phytochemicals are used which are used as a functional food. We have a curcumin which is used as an antioxidant. Especially I have seen people actually taking, especially the one which are suffering with the cancer, along with the chemotherapy, they also continue curcumin because it's an antioxidant drug. Ellagic acid or ellagic tannin more precisely, which is normally been obtained from pomegranate green, is normally been taken by the people, those who are suffering with the heart problem. Forskolin and hydroxycitric acid, these are the two chemicals. Forskolin, of course, is a labdin derivative, diterpenoid, whereas hydroxycitric acid is actually citric acid derivative, and both of them are been used actually to overcome obesity, that is to promote body lean mass. Piperine is not used as a food, but it is used in functional food actually to improve the bioavailability of otherwise poorly bioavailable drugs. So curcumin is having the poor bioavailability, and with the result is the formulation in the market of combining curcumin with the piperine. Soya isoflavone is another natural compounds which are present in the soya, and they are the ones which have been having associated with the mild estrogenic activity. Most important, they are having the mild estrogenic activity, but at the same time they are having the advantage that they are totally free from a side effect, the one which are normally been associated with the steroids. So this compound like genistein and the diazein, these are two chemicals which are normally found to be present in soya, and they are estrogenic, and normally wherever the depletion of the estrone takes place, these are the drugs actually which are supplemented. So these are some of the phytochemicals which are used as a functional food. Phytochemicals in food sector like annatto is used as a color, especially to give the color to the amul butter. Then we have a lycopene again as a colorant as well as an antioxidant. Vanillin is very extensively used flavoring material in the world. The world's largest consumed flavor is vanillin. In most of the cases, even the base flavor is vanillin, which is obtained from Vanilla planifolia. However, currently the flavor which has been used in the world, only 1% comes actually from a natural source. 99% comes actually from the synthetic source of guaiacol. Guaiacol is the one which has been responsible for making, or which has been used actually for synthesizing synthetic vanillin. Gallic acid and the gallic acid galates. Gallic acid is obtained actually from the galls as well as from amla, and that is the one which has been converted into various galates or the derivative of the gallic acid, which are used as a stabilizer in food sector. Then we have a sweetener like stevia glycoside is a sweetener which is much more sweeter than the sugar and without glycemic index. So is the case with the thaumatin. It's a protein sweetener without glycemic index, and glycyrrhizin, which is a triterpenoid, again a sweetener without the glycemic index. So these are normally been used actually as a sweetener which are without glycemic index and which are normally been useful actually for the diabetic patient. And these are used in the food sector. So these are some of the phytochemicals used in the food sector. Phytochemicals used in the other sector besides pharma and the food. Many phytochemicals are used in the other sector. For example, lawson, which is present in the henna leaf, is useful actually for dyeing hairs and even for decorating sole and the palm. Indigo is another dye which was originally found to be present in case of Indigoflora tinctoria, and it was obtained from that. However, currently most of the indigo which is there in the market actually has been obtained by the synthetic process. Limonene is actually a major constituent of the citrus oil, especially orange and the lemon oil, and it is normally unwanted. However, the limonene has an excellent property, like most of the solvent, that it has been useful actually as a degreasing agent without any problem associated with it. Most of the other solvent, they are having the problem that they are not biodegradable and they are also not environmentally friendly. However, limonene is found to be beneficial on both accounts, that it is environmentally friendly plus it is biodegradable as well, and plus it is also associated with a good cleaning power. It's called the Kb power. Kb value is around 67, which is considered to be the best Kb value actually to be used as a cleaner for the greasing. Then menthol is a coolant actually which is present in the Mentha piperita, and it is used in confectionery. It is also used in tobacco industry and also used actually in cosmetic industry. So menthol is again obtained from a natural source. Caranjin is obtained from Pongamia pinnata, and there is a furanoflavonoid. It is having it is having the insecticide or the pesticide action, and it is popularly, the Karanja oil is popularly used in a sector for as an insecticide in the agriculture sector. Sesamine, it is present in the sesame oil or gingerly oil, and it is a compound actually which is also having the synergistic effect for a pesticide. However, today it is no longer used because it is an expensive affair. Quinine is having the anti-malarial action, and for a long time it was used as an anti-malarial agent, but currently it is no longer used as anti-malarial agent because we have a better agent like artemisinin. So today quinine is used more as a flavoring and to impart bitterness to the beverages, especially the liquor and some beverages, to impart a little bitter taste to that. So quinine is used more for that today rather than to be used actually as an anti-malarial drug. Ursolic acid, which is present in many plants like vinca, rosemary, nerium. So ursolic acid is a triterpenoid and it is ursin derivative, and it is found to be having a good action for especially for the skin preparation, and it is used in the cosmetic industry. So these are some of the phytochemicals which are used in the other sector than pharma and the food. Now let's look at the phytochemicals, derivatives and the synthetic analogs. That is the topic actually for the discussion, and I'll be giving you some phytochemicals of importance and how the analogs or the derivatives are developed from that, and they are found to be useful in the sector. Let me begin with the first study actually with the age-old molecule salicin and the derivatives. All of us are familiar with the aspirin. I think there is nobody who does not know aspirin in the pharma. The origin of the aspirin lies in a plant called Salix alba. This was recorded actually by Hippocrates in 460 BC. He recorded actually that the willow bark is found to be beneficial or helpful to heal headache, pain and the fever. That is what the recording which was done by the Hippocrates then. Then of course it was later on, it was in the 18th century, it was a compound which was isolated from the plant, and it was given the name salicin because it was obtained from the Salix alba, and it was given the name salicin. So salicin is actually a glucoside of salicyl alcohol. Then it was semi-synthetically, it was converted, hydrolyzed actually to convert into a salicyl alcohol. Salicyl alcohol was then oxidized to give salicylic acid, and salicylic acid then it was esterified esterified to give acetyl salicylic acid. And acetyl salicylic acid is a molecule which is extensively used today both as an analgesic, antipyretic as well as for blood thinning agent. Besides acetyl salicylic acid, other chemicals which has come actually from the same plant material is mesalamine, that is 5-amino. This is 5-amino salicylic acid. This is salicylic acid. This is 5-amino salicylic acid, which is a mesalamine, and which has been useful actually again for intestinal bowel syndrome, the pain associated with the intestinal bowel syndrome. It has been targeted for that. Another derivative of salicin which has come actually is a methyl salicylate. Methyl salicylate as such was found to be present in the Gualtheria plant, but today it is extensively synthesized actually because of its application in the iodex and the similar other products, or rally spray and other where it has been used extensively. So these are some of the products like salicylic acid, acetyl salicylic acid, mesalamine and the methyl salicylate are the one which has been derived actually from the naturally occurring salicin, which is found to be present in Salix alba, both leaf as well as bark. Another compound for podophyllitoxin and derivatives. Podophyllitoxin is found to be present in the two plant. It's a lignan derivative. Lignan is a dimer of C6C3, that is phenylalanine. So you can see here there are two C6C3. One is C6,1,2,3 and C6,1,2,3. So this is lignan, and podophyllitoxin is a lignan which is found to be present in two plants. Podophyllum peltatum, which is American podophyllum, which belong to family Berberidaceae, and Podophyllum hexandrum, which is an Indian variety. And podophyllitoxin is particularly present in very high concentration in Podophyllum hexandrum rather than Podophyllum peltatum. And today we have a compound which has been derived from the podophyllitoxin, has been prepared. Then it is of course demethylated actually, and you get the hydroxy group here. So you can see here hydroxy group in both the cases of etoposide and the teniposide. Later on it was glycosylated to give etoposide and teniposide. So these are the two compounds today, etoposide and terimposide, which are derived from the podophyllatoxin, and they are used as an important anti-cancer drug. So this is how the podophyllatoxin is been useful actually for preparation of etoposide and terimposide. Another important class of the compound is quinone. These are the naphthaquinones. So you can see lawsone is a 2-hydroxynaphthaquinone which is present in the henna. Juglone is a 5-hydroxynaphthaquinone which is present in the walnut, rather black walnut. And chiconin is another naphthaquinone, phenyl naphthaquinone, which is present actually in alkana root. So these three are the naturally occurring naphthaquinone which is present in the plant, and these are the derivatives actually. So you can see menadone, which is methyl 1,4-naphthaquinone, 2-methyl-naphthaquinone, which is vitamin K3, and it is popularly been used actually for veterinary as a precursor for the vitamin K. Then atovaquone, which is again a naphthaquinone derivative, which is having anti-pneumocystic activity, and then we have a bupraquone, which is having anti-protozoal action. So you can see these are the naturally occurring naphthaquinone, and these are the ones which have been prepared and which have been useful actually in pharmaceutical as either anti-protozoal or anti-pneumocytic activity. Cocaine and synthetic analogs. Cocaine is of course from the South America, and it's a drug of abuse. Cocaine is found to be present in the leaf of Erythroxylum coca, Erythroxylus family. Cocaine is a benzoyl methyl agonine. It's a tropine alkaloid. So you can see this is a tropine moiety here, and this is found to be present, and it is associated with the euphoric action as well as habit forming action. However, the extraction, isolation, the characterization, the structure of cocaine has led to the development of many useful compounds like amylocaine, procaine, benzocaine, tetracaine, and the lidocaine. All of them, they are associated with the local anesthetic action. So structure of cocaine has laid the foundation for the development of the synthetic analogs called amylocaine, procaine, benzocaine, tetracaine, and the lidocaine, which are used in pharmacy as an important local anesthetic drugs. Another compound, tropine alkaloids and the analogs. You can see here, this is atropine, hyoscine, and scopolamine. These are the three compounds which are naturally occurring in a plant called Duboisia mycorrhizae. That is a plant actually which is growing in Australia, which belongs to Solanaceae family. And this is the plant which is extensively been useful for extraction, the isolation of the tropine alkaloid, because other plants like belladonna, datura, stramonium, and the hyoscyamus that contain very low concentration, whereas in case of Duboisia, the concentration of the tropine alkaloid goes almost up to 1%, whereas in other varieties, other species, it contains less than 1%, and that is the natural source actually of obtaining these tropine alkaloids. Now, these are the naturally occurring tropine alkaloids, and which are associated with the midriatic action as well as anticholinergic action, and which is specifically used for the GI tract. And these are some of the derivatives. Homatropine is a derivative of atropine, whereas tropicamide and benztropine are the synthetic analogs of tropine alkaloids, synthetic analog of the tropine alkaloids, which are also having almost a similar action as that of tropine alkaloid. So these has laid the foundation for the development of the either derivative, that is homatropine, or synthetic analogs like tropicamide and benztropine. Morphine and synthetic analogs. Morphine is found to be present in a plant called Papaver somniferum, and in the latex of the plant. You can see here the latex which is oozing out actually, and that is the one which after drying is the source of the morphine. And other alkaloids like codeine and the thebaine, papaverine, and the noscapine. Whereas morphine is a powerful analgesic, and it is still used actually, as I told you in my earlier slide, that morphine sulfate injection are still used as a powerful painkiller, especially after post-surgery. However, morphine has also laid the foundation for the development of synthetic analogs like phenazocine, fentanyl, and pethidine, out of which fentanyl is almost 50 to 100 times more potent than the morphine, at the same time more habit forming than the morphine, whereas phenazocine and pethidine are relatively lesser. They are not associated with the habit forming actually, and they are also not associated with the euphoric action. So these two derivatives, of which pethidine and the phenazocine, are extensively being used actually in the pharma, whereas the fentanyl, though it is found to be having more potent than the morphine, but it is less used. In fact, on the contrary, in fact, it is the spray of which has been used in the in USA is very popular there, especially the sublingual spray as well as nasal spray, because it immediately reduces the pain, and that is what the fentanyl has been used for. However, fentanyl is associated with the habit forming as well as euphoric action associated as that of morphine. But however, morphine has been useful for developing many derivatives or many synthetic analogs, of which these are some of the important analogs. 16-DP and other semi-synthetic steroids. Now, steroids are important drugs. Actually, many steroids are important drugs, especially the sex hormone and the anti-inflammatory drugs like betamethasone, dexamethasone. And steroids have a very complicated structure to be synthesized in the laboratory. And with the result, actually, the natural source is the one which has been preferred, and dioxin, which is present in the Dioscorea, is one of the very important and natural course, or the natural, I'll put it actually a choice for starting as to be used as a starting material. But beside Dioscorea, other species like hecogenin from the agave and solasodin from solanum species are also being used actually for the semi-synthetic steroids. Anyway, dioxin is the one which is present in the Dioscorea species, which is a glycoside or the saponin of a dioxinin. Later on, it was hydrolyzed to get the dioxinin. Dioxinin, then of course, it is chemically modified to get 16-DPA, that is 16-dihydropregnenolone acetate. And then 16-DPA is the one which has been responsible for giving various derivatives which are used extensively as either sex hormone or as anti-inflammatory agent like hydrocortisone, betamethasone, dexamethasone, beclomethasone, testosterone. So those are all the steroids which have been prepared actually from 16-DPA, which is an intermediate and which has been obtained from the dioxinin, which in turn has been obtained from the dioxin from Dioscorea tuber. So these are very important and very complicated structure, but the thing has been simplified because of the availability of the natural precursor. Another important molecule is the cathinone and ephedrine. Now, all these molecules today are drug of abuse, and they are banned actually. Cathinone is banned or prohibited here, and so is the case with the ephedrine is also prohibited now. And these are all the prohibited drugs, rather they are drug of abuse which are used. But if you look at actually how they have been derived from the constituent called cathinone, which is present in the plant called Catha edulis, which is an Ethiopian plant, or ephedrine that is actually present in the ephedra. So these are the constituents which are derived from this. So you can see amphetamine. Amphetamine is derived actually from this. So you can amphetamine, methamphetamine, that is N-methylamphetamine, methcathinone. So N-methylcathinone, this is another derivative. Mephedrone, that is actually paramethyl, and of course N-methyl amphetamine. Cathinone. Then we have esketamine, that is methylene dioxide methamphetamine, and methylone, which is methylene dioxide methcathinone. This is cathinone. So this is cathinone and cathinone derivative. These are amphetamine derivative. Okay, all these are drug of abuse, and but the structures have been derived actually from the naturally occurring cathinone, which is present in the Catha edulis, and the local people, they chew the leaf of this to keep themselves energetic without consuming the food. So these are the compounds which have been derived from that. Barbaram to diacerin, this is the compound which we were associated in developing the technology from barbarin to aloimodine. So barbarin is present in the plant in the form of glycoside. Later on it can be converted into aloimodine by oxidative hydrolysis. So this part will get cleaved and you will get the aloimodine. Aloimodine can then thereafter be oxidized to carboxylic acid group. So CH2OH group has been oxidized to carboxylic acid group, and then 1,8-dihydroxy has been acetylated to give diacerin. And today diacerin is used as an anti-arthritic drug. However, the original compound like barbarin is associated with the purgative action. So here's an example where the derivative is having altogether different action as that of the original compound. These are other natural anthraquinone dyes which are existing in the plant, which includes alizarin, purpurine from the Rubia tinctoria and the Rubia cordifolia, tectoquinone from the teak wood, that is the Tectona grandis. Then we have a carminic acid from the Ditalupus coccus, and we have a lacaic acid from Coccus lacca. So these are other These are all the colored compounds which are anthraquinone and which are found to be present in the nature. These are some of the synthetic dyes which are extensively used in textile industry, which includes alizarin red, dispersed blue, quinazarine, quinalizarin, purpurine, acid blue, and ramazole blend blue. So these are all anthraquinone dyes, synthetic analogs which are used in textile industry for dyeing purpose. These are some of the derivatives of the anthraquinone which are used in pharmaceutical, like aloe is a laxative. Madoxanthone, which is an anthraquinone derivative, is used as an anti-cancer drug. Rufigalol is an anthraquinone which is not obtained from any anthraquinone, neither it is naturally occurring, but it can be prepared actually from the 2-gallic acid unit to give anthraquinone, which is having the antimalarial action, and diacerin, which is actually an aloe derivative, is having the anti-arthritic action. So these are the anthraquinone derivatives which are having useful derivatives in a different sector. Pyrethroids and the synthetic analogs. This is a pyrethrum flower, that is Chrysanthemum cinerarifolium, which belong to family Asteraceae, and this is the natural pyrethroid. And if you look at the structure, the important feature which is present in the structure is dimethyl propyl cyclopropane, dimethyl cyclopropane ring and ester linkage. Okay, so this is the important feature for its anti or the insecticide activity. Now these are all synthetic analogs which have been developed actually because during Second World War the supply of the natural pyrethroid was scarce, and with the result the Japanese got into the development of synthetic analogs, and they have come out with the many synthetic analogs, and today transferrin and alethrin, D-alethrin is the one which is useful as an mosquito repellent in the domestic or the homemade mosquito repellent sprays or the coil or vaporizer. And this is cypermethrin, which has been used actually in agriculture as an insecticide. But if you look at all these three structures here, in all these three structures, the important feature of the one which is dimethyl cyclopropane chain and ester linkage associated with that is been retained in all the cases. Then only it was found to be having insecticide activity, which is as that of natural pyrethroids. So structure determination of the natural pyrethroid has laid the foundation for the development of synthetic analogs called transferrin, alethrin, and cypermethrin, and many other synthetic pyrethroids which are used in agriculture. So this is about the pyrethrum. Next is menthol. Menthol is another important molecule which is occurring naturally in plant called Mentha piperita and which is having the coolant action. And there are many menthol derivatives which are now being used actually. For example, methyl succinate, paramenthane 3-carboxylic acid, WS3, that is ethyl paramenthane 3-carboxamide, and WS5, that is ethoxycarbonyl methyl paramenthane 3-carboxamide. Now, if you look at all these four structures, they are the menthol derivatives. However, they're having certain advantages associated with the menthol. They're having better than menthol some activity, like they are more lasting action than the menthol. However, in one case like WS3, it is not just having more lasting action, but they have a more cooling sensation than menthol. So look at this, what is happening in the derivative. They are found to be having some beneficial action or some property which is not associated with the natural menthol. Another molecule which is unrelated to menthol, that is 2-isopropyl N2,3-trimethyl butramide. So this is a compound which is totally unrelated to the menthol, but also having the cooling sensation as that of menthol, slightly lesser than that. Like if the menthol is 100, WS23, that is 2-isopropyl N2,3-trimethyl butramide, is having only 75. That means almost 2/3 as that of the menthol cooling sensation, but at the same time it is having more lasting cooling sensation. So these are some of the derivatives of the menthol, and today there are more than 50 menthol derivatives which are used in the industry, whether it is tobacco industry or cosmetic industry or food industry, and even in pharma industry they have been useful actually. So this is about the tobacco and the synthetic analogs. So that was about the various natural phytochemicals and the synthetic analog as well as the derivatives which are found to be having some a similarity as that of a natural compound or having the, in some cases, even better than the natural compound. Like artemisinin. In case of natural artemisinin, it is neither lipophilic nor hydrophilic, but then artemisinin or the arteether which are obtained from that, or artesunate which has been obtained from the artemisinin or other dihydroartemisinin, they are having better bioavailability or better onset of the action as that of the natural artemisinin. So those are about the synthetic analogs as well as about the derivatives of naturally occurring phytochemicals. I will quickly go through some of the extraction and the isolation of the phytochemical because this is the area which I am pursuing it. So I thought that I will at least give you some case studies of the thing which we have pursued. Number one, Lawson. So we have been associated with the development of the extraction process for the Lawson because Godrej wanted actually more than 20% Lawson content in the extract, and we were able to provide. Lawson is present in the henna, that is Lawsonia inermis and Lithiaceae family, and we have been able to, this is the scheme by which we generated. Henna leaf powder was extracted with the weak alkaline water. Later on the extract was filtered, and then of course it was neutralized with the mineral acid, and then after neutralization actually the entire spent was extracted with organic solvent. Then the organic solvent was recovered, and we got actually the extract which was rich in Lawson. That was then given the washing actually with the solvent to get more than 20% Lawson in the extract. And this particular technology was sold to Godrej a product at Bombay. Next is the kaolin, another case study of the kaolin extraction, the isolation. Kaolin is a furanochrome derivative present in the fruits of Ammi visnaga, and this we attempted actually because we wanted to make monograph of the kaolin. So instead of buying kaolin ready-made, we thought that we will develop the extraction isolation method, and this is what we have done. So we extracted actually kaolin fruit powder. There is a mistake here, not bark, fruit powder with the methanol, and then of course the extract was concentrated. It was fractionated with the petroleum ether, and then of course it was given number of washings actually, and which has resulted thereafter it was taken up in the alcohol and then recrystallized with the hot alcohol, and then of course we got it actually the kaolin which is in a much more a purer form. Then of course we have generated the, we have confirmed whether it is pure or not. Firstly, it was confirmed whether it is having the single spot. So on the TLC it was showing the single spot. On the right side you can see the track of extract, and in HPLC also it was found to be having fairly a purer compound actually, and then that was used for the development of a monograph. And then we published the method of extraction. Fortunately, this particular method of extraction was also been captured by the wiki, and today you will find our reference in the Wikipedia. All right, another case study is the mangiferin. Mangiferin is actually a xanthone derivative. This is a xanthone derivative which was found to be present in mango. It is present in the bark as well as in the leaf part of it, but bark is having, especially the inner bark is having higher concentration of mangiferin, and mangiferin is having the powerful antioxidant action, and with the result actually we got into the extraction, the isolation of the mangiferin. These are the physical constants of the mangiferin. I will quickly take you through the extraction. What we did actually, it was extracted with the powder, extracted the bark of Mangifera indica with the methanol at the boiling point. Almost it was refluxed actually. Then of course the hot extract was filtered, and then of course it was concentrated, and the concentrated extract was then poured into the water, whereby mangiferin gets precipitated because it is having very low solubility in the water, and that gets precipitated. Then the precipitation was taken out. It was given the washing with the petroleum ether to remove the waxy material, and then of course it was taken up for the decrystallization using methanol. And on that, then we were able to get actually the crystalline mangiferin from Mangifera indica bark. It was then confirmed by the TLC as well as by the HPLC. The other spectral studies to confirm mangiferin. So that was about the mangiferin. This is about the case study of the aloe vera development of the product. So we have been associated, as I told you, to develop a product actually, or to convert a barbella into aloe. This is the process which we followed actually. We have been able to separate all these compounds both from the two sources. One is from the aloes and the second one from the rhubarb. In fact, we've been able to separate rhine as well as crassophenol from the rhubarb rather than from the aloes. but otherwise barbaloin and the aluminum were separated actually from aloes, and then of course it was converted actually to a rine, and then the rine was converted to a diacetyl. So we have developed the in situ process wherein actually the aloes, which contains 20% of the barbaloin, was converted inside the reaction without separation actually, and then whatever the aluminum which was formed, that was extracted in an organic solvent, exclusive organic solvent in which only the aluminum was found to be soluble. Then of course the organic solvent was recovered and we were able to get more than 95% aluminum, and the technology was sold actually to the Tarapur based company in Maharashtra. Another case study is the forskolin. Forskolin is a compound which is a labdin derivative which was found to be present in Coleus forskolii root. It is present to the extent of around 0.5 to 1%, and it is having the important application that it is been useful as an anti-obesity agent. Currently, it is also been worked up actually, or it is also been studied actually for its anti-glaucoma, that is ophthalmic pressure, been useful for that. And this has been obtained actually from a Coleus forskolii root. You can see here actually workers managing the root of the Coleus forskolii, which is extensively cultivated in the South India. So we have made use of the property that the forskolin is insoluble in the petroleum ether but soluble in chloroform. So what we did, we took a powdered root, they are extracted with the methanol, and then supercritical fluid extraction we did actually to remove the volatile constituent, and then of course it was extracted in the methanol. And thereafter the methanol extract was methanol was completely removed, and the entire extract, the soft mass, was dissolved in a minimum quantity of the chloroform, and thereafter it was strained, filtered, and the pure solution of chloroform is then treated with the 5 to 7 times of chloroform, the petroleum ether, and on standing for 24 hours we were able to get actually the precipitation or other sedimentation at the base. When we tested that, it was found to be enriched forskolin. We took out that, filtered that actually, and further did the same treatment, that means dissolved into minimum quantity of the chloroform and precipitated with the petroleum ether. And by doing this 7 to 8 times, we were able to get actually the pure crystalline material of forskolin. And forskolin today is being used actually for promoting body lean mass in a functional food. So that was about forskolin. These are just the details of that TLC, HPLC, and then these are the pharmacological application. Forskolin acts on the adenylate cyclase enzyme, which in turn improves the level of cyclic AMP in the body, and that has been useful actually in many elements, like they are beneficial for the bronchodilation. They also are anti-glaucoma. They reduce the blood pressure, and of course obesity as well, because in obesity it was observed actually that the cyclic AMP level come down drastically, whereas this improves the cyclic AMP level. Another case study is of the Caranjin. Caranjin is a furanoflavonoid which is found to be present in Pongamia pinnata, and it is having pesticide or the insecticide action. Caranjin we have isolated actually from the oil part of it, where it is present actually in a high concentration. So what we did actually, the oil part of it has been taken, it is treated with the methanol, and then the methanol layer is allowed to separate, and then it is separated and concentrated. Thereafter, after concentration, it was treated with the petroleum ether, because when you concentrate good amount of lipid, that is triglycerides, also come along with that. Then that goes, when you wash with the petroleum ether, that goes along with it, and even certain other constituents which are more lipophilic, that goes along with that. And by repeating this treatment several times, we were able to get actually the Caranjin in fairly a purer stage. So this was then of course identified by TLC and of course HPLC and spectral studies of Caranjin. So that's all about some extraction isolation studies. Once you extract and isolate, phytochemicals are also found to be useful in herbal drug analysis. And here are a couple of case studies. Here we have used vasicin, which was isolated in the laboratory for identification whether in cup syrup vasicin is present or not, and if it is present, to what extent it is present by the HPLC. So qualitative as well as quantitative analysis can be performed if you have a phytochemical of that particular plant with you. And here we have done vasicin analysis, both qualitative as well as quantitative in Osaka syrup. This was the multi-herbal formulation. So this was the formulation which was containing almost 9 drugs, and company wanted actually that in the capsule, they have used the extract in the capsule form, and they wanted to show whether all the 9 herbs are represented in the extract, and if they are represented, whether they are represented as per the label claim or not. So what we did, we took out one phytochemical from each of this plant, and then initially tracked them with the TLC, and later on it was also quantified with the help of the HPLC. So these are some of the phytochemicals, like this is astagaloside, this is thanchinone, this is peoniflorin, this is ferulic acid, this is hydroxysafflower yellow, this is amygdalin, salvinoleic acid, beta-azarone, and this is tenifolium. So these are the compounds actually which was found to be present actually in each of these herbs. So some of these compounds we have tracked them actually, like astagaloside. So you can see actually astagaloside was the major compound, which was astagalidine was the major constituent of the capsule. So we have shown the presence of the astagaloside in all the samples. So they had 8 samples to be evaluated. Then same constituent we also analyzed, or we have quantified with the help of the HPLC. See, the analysis, HPLC analysis of the herbal drug is really cumbersome and challenging, because herbal extracts are constituted of many plant material, many constituent, and with the result, it's very difficult to get the baseline once you inject the sample, and that is why you need more skill actually, or more effort to get the clean sample rather than to actually evaluate or actually carry out the analysis part of it. However, we were able to get we were able to clean the sample without compromising the analyte under test, and we were able to get the good chromatogram or the clean chromatogram. So this is how phytochemicals can be useful both for identification as well as quantification of the herbs. This is phytochemical for the extraction analysis. We wanted to prove that we have used hydroalcoholic mixture for the extraction, and this is the best solvent which can be used actually, and we have given these 3 examples. This is about the amygdalin, this is about the hydroxysafflower yellow, and this is about the beta-azarone. Now you can see the first track is of alcohol extract, second track is of alcohol in the water, and the third track is of the water extract. If you look at amygdalin, it was found to be particularly in high concentration in alcohol, water, as well as alcohol. If you look at hydroxysafflower yellow, it is found to be better in case of hydroalcoholic as well as water, but not in case of alcohol. On the other hand, beta-azarone is more in alcohol as well as in water, as well as in hydroalcoholic solution, but not in water. So when we put actually this, the hydroalcoholic mixture is the best solvent, then the query was raised actually, kindly prove that. So in this case, we carried out this work and proved that yes, and then actually the patent was granted actually. So we have a US patent based upon this kind of studies. Well, these are some of the phytochemicals which we have been able to isolate in our laboratory. Over a period of time, in the last 30 years, rather more precisely last 20 years, I have been doing extraction and isolation of the phytochemicals. Today we have a method for more than 70 phytochemicals in the lab, and not only we have methods, but we have, in some cases, we have also simplified the methods to such an extent that these experiments can be easily carried out actually by the UG and the PG student, and accordingly we have came out with a book called Extraction and Isolation of the Phytochemicals, a practical approach wherein we have given 25 case studies, and these are the experiments which can be carried out very conveniently and very affordable manner, because in most of the cases we started with just 100 to 200 gram of the raw material, and we were able to get close to 1 gram of the output from that. In some cases it is even more, and we have provided the 25 case studies of the extraction isolation, which is ranging from 2 hours to almost 1 day. So some of them are useful for the undergraduate, whereas others can be useful for the postgraduate. These are some of the technology which we are able to transfer to the industry, that is from the aloes to aloimodine. Then from Thaumatococcus daniel, we have been able to develop the technology for the isolation of the thaumatin. From Terminal tubula, we have been able to develop technology for the extraction and isolation of the ellagic acid as well as gallic acid. From Coleus phoscolite to a forskolin. And of course, recently we have also, as I told you, we have developed the method for the henna concentrate, that is a lawson concentrate, which has been able to go right up to 80% of the lawson content in the extract. So these are some of the technology which we have been able to transferred to the industry. This is reputation. These are some of the monographs which were published in the ICMR published quality standard of the Indian medicinal plant, wherein we contributed 60 monographs which have been published in this 7 volumes, which is starting from the 11 to 17. And these are some of the products which we have been able to develop in the laboratory and they have been commercialized. These are the 4 confectionery or the chocolate product. These 2 are the chocolate bar. These 2 are gummies, and 4 more products are in pipeline, which will be launched another 2 months. Those are from the ariline.com. This is liquid stevia, a liquid drop we have developed to be added actually by the diabetic patient in a tea or in a beverage. This is the cosmetic, natural cosmetic product developed actually by some cosmetic company, and this is of course the aloe-based product. That's it about the various phytochemicals, their analogs, their derivatives, which are useful in the industry, pharmaceutical industry, and of course I have also exposed to the other industry like food industry and the confectionery or the agricultural industry. If you work on that, actually definitely it will be more useful in the future. More derivatives and the more analogs I think we'll be able to see in the future. Let me just take this opportunity to sincerely extend my thankfulness to all the participants, those who have been patiently listening to me. AICTE in particular for sponsoring this program, the BT program, and staff and management of the Bharatiya Vidyapeeth College of Pharmacy, Kolhapur, for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to present in front of you. Thank you one and all. Over to you, sir. I'm done with the presentation. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Dr. K.S. Ladda, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Very informative session. Sorry, Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, now dear participant, the session is open for discussion. You can ask question directly or place your question in WhatsApp group. Hello.
Yes. Yeah, I'm open for any, in case if there's any question, please let me know. Yes. I don't know how to go into the chat box. I don't know whether it has a. If anybody has any question, please let me know.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Myself, Preeti Bharti, and I am from Uttarakhand, Dehradun. So I want to know, there is a plant Canthracis rosaceae, and common name is Sadabahar. So may I know which are the phytochemical present in it?
It contains vincristine, vinblastine. Those are typically an indole derivative. Indole, or they are tryptophan derived alkaloids, which are present in very low concentration. In fact, the concentration of vincristine, vinblastine is around 0.0003%, and that is why they are pretty expansive. They are important anti-cancer drugs. Vincristine and vinblastine are the important anti-cancer drugs which have been developed from Catranthus roseus, or earlier name was Vinca rosea.
So I'm going to prepare the nanoparticle from with silver nitrate and this Sadabahar leaf extract. So sir, can you repeat this chemical present in it? Please, can you repeat, sir?
Vincristine and vinblastine, these are the 2 important phytochemical which are having the anti-cancer action associated with them, and these are the tryptophan derived alkaloid, or they have an indole moiety in their structure.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else has having any question? Okay, hello. If not, I once again extend my thankfulness to all of you. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Can you give some ideas regarding the column chromatography technique? That is just, I would like to know how it is. Some tricks are there to easily isolate some types of phytochemicals, because it becomes a very tedious job.
Okay. All right. See, when you want to run column chromatography, I think what you need, first of all, you should be very clear about what you want.
Yes.
And first develop TLC method actually for whatever the analyte you are interested in.
Yeah.
And if possible, you can also undertake actually solvent fractionation. You can use various solvent for the fractionation and enrich the desired constituent by fractionation. Once you do that, then once again develop the TLC solvent system actually, and then you can load into the column. If it is colored compound, then probably you will be able to watch, but if it is not so, then probably you can take a small quantity first, then run into a sort of a burette actually, very small quantity, and maybe take 5 ml fraction with the solvent whatever you have developed for the TLC, and keep monitoring all the fraction, and probably I think you will be able to get some combined fraction, but definitely some fraction will come actually as a single constituent. And then of course you'll have to extrapolate that actually for the bigger column. This is what, so what you put it in a column must be very, I'll put it actually refined. That means you remove as much as junk as possible actually by solvent fractionation or any other technique actually, and then load that for the column. It is possible to separate by column chromatography. I don't think it is very tedious or cumbersome, but yes, once you learn, then it becomes easier. But it consumes time actually. Definitely, you have to collect many fractions. But this is what it.
Yeah. Can you that is go for the prepared TLC instead of that?
You can do that also if your interest is only for evaluation or analysis. Today, fortunately, we have analytical methods which are more sensitive, and you hardly in 10 milligram, if you have a material, I think you can carry out almost all the analysis today. So fortunately, we have a very sensitive analytical methods today by which you can carry out that. But if you want for the, for commercialization, then probably I think you have to run for a bigger column.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Tell me.
Is there any advanced technique for extraction of volatile phytoconstituents?
No, there is not. See, there are many methods are there actually, and in general, extraction method, whichever extraction method you take it actually, there is nothing like universal extraction process because all the molecules are different. Even in the same class, you'll find actually there are different molecules. See, if you look at the flavonoids, if there are more hydroxy group, they are more polar. But if the hydroxy group has been replaced with the methoxy group, then they become less polar. So even in the same class, we have a two different polarity molecule. So there is nothing like universal extraction process. Each method had its own advantages and the disadvantages, other merits and the demerits. You need to know what are the merits and accordingly apply it to the right candidate. So depending upon the secondary metabolite which you want to extract and isolate, a right method need to be selected actually for that. Like if you want to extract, let's say, lipophilic molecule, in that case, supercritical fluid extraction using carbon dioxide will be more suitable than any other method.
Thank you, sir. One more question.
Yeah.
Suggest me any one method for the extraction of high production of the flavonoids. By which method I can achieve higher amount of flavonoids?
You want to have a colored compound?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have given the study of Lawson. I have mentioned actually that you can use alkaline water to extract. Later on, alkaline water. I mean, you have to keep it overnight actually, and thereafter next day you filter that off. Filter it, you treat with the mineral acid to convert into a neutralize. Then the Lawson which is present in that will get converted into a free base that will be soluble in the chloroform, and you can extract in the chloroform, separate the chloroform layer, remove the chloroform, and you will be able to get concentrated Lawson. Then if you give the again solvent treatment to that, again once again dissolve into the alkaline water and precipitate, then probably a couple of times if you do it, you will be able to get the pure Lawson from that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and many more. Like anthraquinones are also there, which can be separated from from aloes or even from the senna. Yeah. Any other question? All right. Thank you once again to all of you. Over to you, sir.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I kindly request Ms. Asha Sadhu ma'am to sum up today's session.
Thank you, Anka. It's an honor to express sincere thanks to such an eminent speaker, Dr. K.S. Ladda sir, who started their session with the types of metabolites which are present in the plants in the form of primary and secondary metabolites. Then sir has given insights on the forms of botanicals which are obtained from the nature. Then sir discussed about different phytochemical like cytosterol, quercetin, etc. Also, sir has explained the phytochemicals which are acting as a drug as well as the use of phytochemicals in the food sector. Along with this, sir explained different case studies which are related to the phytochemicals regarding their synthesis and their derivatives. Further, sir discussed or focused on technological development of extraction and isolation of phytochemicals. Along with this, sir has discussed related case studies of extraction and isolation. Also, sir has discussed various phytochemicals which are observed in the extraction analysis. At last, sir talked on different technologies which are transferred to the industries for the various purposes. So with this, I express my heartfelt thanks to you, sir. On behalf of Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Pharmacy, I express my sincere thanks. And also, I want to announce here we are hoping your guidance in the future also. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
ma'am.
much,
Thank you
sir.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I kindly request all the participants to turn on your camera so that we can have a photo with our eminent speaker.
Actually, ma'am, my camera is not working properly. Hello, ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am, my front camera is not working properly.
no problem, ma'am. No problem.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Can I
much
continue?
once again. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Announce करो next session. 3 वाजता.
Dear participants, now we will have lunch break. I request all the participants to join the next session sharp at 3 p.m. Thank you.